Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. I hope my English is well enough for you to be able to follow. If any questions coming up, please be so kind to ask Martin to help for translation. What we just have heard about compost and composting systems is very much related to the methodology I will introduce now. So in Germany and in Austria for many years ago, someone started with this compost methodology and generating heat from it, and since it was coming from Germany, and in Germany we have Biomeiler, it was called Biomeiler, so to have a relation that something else is possible. And last year in Karlsruhe at the Ecological Festival of the school, we introduced the system as well, and Kim Quest said, let's call bioreactor, because the Danish will understand better that a bioreactor can do good things, but as I learned, the compost Warmeanlage is maybe also the right word to be used. There's one big issue to it, as we also started today, it's all humus related. What we really want to have is the most out of the wood components as possible. So we don't want to burn it and lose it in one go. What we get here is we get a lot of humus and very high valuable fertilization product at the end of the process. And at the same time, we are harvesting heat. The beauty of the system is that it's a very, very low technical thing, and it's a low cost thing. So not much related to it. And the heat is something where we are the first time able to turn our muscle power into energy. Normally it's fossil heating systems, and you have no way to substitute your muscles into heat, rather than you're sitting on your exercise bike, but this is not efficient enough to heat a house. There are three things related to it. One thing is the system is ecologically easy to use, and it's economical for us, and it's giving us a decentralized autonomic thing. So most of the people I'm coming across say, okay, yes, I want to save some money, but the major thing for most people I'm talking to is they want to be independent from the grid, they want to be independent from the multinational companies by using oil and gas. So one of the biggest issues is how can I be independent and have a lot of personal effect to it. The green cut is going into wood chips. The energy from the bioreactor is available to us, and as a result we have humus, and we also have a very, very high carbon dioxide binding to the ground, which with other systems is not really possible. So compared with this system to an aerobic composting methodology is 30% higher in the outcome of carbon binding. So this is a university study taking care over the past 4 years, and we always had the common compost system related to this kind of system where you don't turn over and you have no mechanical exercise in place. Another thing related to it is that the compost harvested from the wood is also something to do gardening for the people don't want to invest too much work, so the lazy gardening, you can call it as well, because the compost on the ground without digging, without turning it around, is very, very successful. It's everything related to having a lot of water, the green cuts, and it's with a very, very simple system of heat exchange, and it's directly going into the heating system, and it's really that easy. There's one more component to it. It is possible to generate also biogas or methane gas within the system, but this entire tank has not really anything to do with the process at all. So the compost heap itself is not producing any methane gas. So the methane gas is only taking the heat from the environment of the composting pile to generate the methane gas. So it's an in itself closed system, and the substrate we put in is not related to the wood. We have two ways to build up this pile. There is one methodology which is already known for more than 40 years, but since all over the time fossil energy was too cheap and inexpensive, nobody really took care to build a big compost heap to generate heat. And this was introduced by Jean Pain, which is a French forest inspector, and he did it 40 years earlier. And he did show how easy it is to generate heat, methane gas, and make it usable for the house. The second thing is that this methodology of Mr. Witte is going along with it. And the big difference between the two systems is that here on the top you really need fresh cut wood, and here on this one you can use slurry and dung, and especially if you have chicken manure, you have very, very good results also with old wood. So the first methodology is related to fresh green cut, which is not older than 2 or 3 months, and the second methodology is related to any kind of manure and slurry using in comparison with old wood. So it's not really necessary for the second methodology to have fresh green cut. The beauty and the charming system is it's low technology. You have no combustion chamber. You have no kind of services. It is just a pile sitting outside. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week for 12 months to 16 months available, and you don't have to take care about it. So at least the heat is available for this time. And the second big advantage is you have all the compost and the humus you want to have without any mechanical work. So you don't have to buy any machinery to turn it over. You don't have to take care of that as well. And after 12 months you have the best fertilization material available. And also the low cost part is you only need PE pipes, which you know all from your normal environment, and you need a pump which can run on 12 volt or on 220 volts, and that is all. Nothing more involved. And that makes it very inexpensive. We don't want to get into the part of what is better, what is more efficient. It is just that this compost piling system is on the top, on the surface, an aerobic process. So you need daylight, and the first 15 centimeter needs oxygen. And all the biochemical process is related to the lower levels by enzymes. So the enzymes are telling the microbial process underneath what to do. So and it's a very mixture between an aerobic and anaerobic process. There is one question which always arises: what is compost, what is humus? And in this particular case, here's an explanation from Mr. Witte, which was done last year. What is humus? And he said it's more or less a structure which lost its former consistency. It is a dark brown material. It is fluid, or it's combined, and you can't burn it. So to me it was very exciting when I found out that 1936 an American guy explained humus the very same way he did, and he also gives a lot more explanation on percentages and what is the content available. I don't want you to read this. The presentation will be available for you, and you can read it by yourself, and there's also the English translation for that available. This is Jean Pain, and he did apply the compost on the very stony ground of his French environment. So in the Pyrenees, which is a mountain-like environment, they had a lot of stones, and what he did is he only put the compost in place and he framed it with the wooden layers here around, and he had a gorgeous result in earning fruits and vegetables. And he's also showing his system, how it would work, and there are different ways to apply the heating pipes to it. So this heating pipe is going directly to the radiator, and here he also has a system which is with forced air related, but the air system needs to have the compost pile and the usage of the heat very close to each other, because in the diameter of 100 centimeters, 100 millimeters, you cannot transport the heat that far. Here he is showing in this picture that in the middle of everything he has his methane digester, and what he is doing, he's pumping the methane gas into this rubber from the trucks, and this is his storage, and his usage of it is that he used it with a normal air compressor. So he's coming here with the gas into the compressor, put it into this high pressure bottle on top of his car, and here you see how the methane gas is applied to the carburetor. This was in the early 70s, and I believe at that time there was no technical inspection in France necessary, so in Germany you couldn't do it. And the second question would be if you would do it to the high sufficient engines these days, but at least it's possible. This is a person which was mentioned a bit earlier from Henning as well as from me. This is Mr. Litte. So he is still available, and you can get all the information firsthand if you wish. And what he did is he did prove the humus building process in a very, very simple way, because normally the soil lab thing is very, very expensive. And what he did here is he put up a plastic pipe, and he put normal soil on top, and here he put these special compost from the compost heap on top, and he was watering it for 2 months every day with the same amount of rainwater from the top. And after 2 months you easily can see that almost nothing really happened if you put normal soil on top of this tone and lame soil. But here you see how the humus is going through all these layers pretty much down of 1.20 meters. So in the depth of 120 you will find a large concentration of humus if the composting process is done right. When we introduced the Biomeiler first, we came to the point, how can you apply it to different environments? And this was for transportation purposes that we thought about how can you get the green cut in the backyard of your house if you don't have access with any kind of technical transportation help. And so we put it into the bags which you normally use for potatoes or wood or carrots. And that was a very easy way for transportation. Here we also put up a pile as it is, so it was going up like a sugar kind of thing, so that you have a smaller diameter on the top. And each layer of the pipes, the heat exchanger, are roughly 100 meters, so that we don't have to worry about how close the pipes are to each other. You just do it as it works, and it's no specialized recipe. In this particular case, it was going into shower tanks, hot water tanks for the shower. So this is related to sports clubs where at the weekend 80 participants of the tournament taking a shower when they are finished. So they have a lot of use of hot water all over the year. Here we had a total setup of 30 cubic meter of green cut in the backyard and in the garage place. So we put all these bags into a garage, and within 9 hours it was finished. So that is the result in the little compartment behind the garage. And this was running for more than 1.5 years. As I mentioned earlier, there's very little to the recipe of this compost heating system. But one part is you have to really water it. So water is one very, very important part of it. And in the background you see the production hall of a weekend paper printing company. And they said, no worries, when you put up the compost pile, we have enough water. We have the fire emergency sprinkler system, and if this is related to our groundwater, no worries. And we switched on the system, and absolutely no water. So at the bottom line, we needed the fire brigade, as well as they would have needed it, because if they would have a fire, they definitely have been in big need. So we asked the local fire brigade to help out with some water, and they sent us 6,000 liters of water to water the green cut. And that is one part where you really have to look after. This here is a pile set up with pig manure and wood, so the mixture between manure and wood is always 30%. And the percentage is on weight, not on volume. So 30% of weight, manure to 70% of any kind of wood chips. That is the rough recipe. And we also did try here to compress it a bit. So we had this kind of condenser used with it, but at the bottom line it didn't show any better use or any heat related issue. So if you condense it or not, it doesn't really matter. So since we have this experience, we never did it again. And then it's actually exactly 1 year ago, Christian and Martin got aware of this methodology, and they introduced it to Denmark in their consulting environment, and this is very close to Panda. It's Asger Pedersen. He has a big broiler farm here, and he has 26,000 chicken running around. And he said, let me do a test composter. And he put up 200 cubic meters, and maybe you can see that it is held in Rionet kind of system. So he put some Rionets up, the steel construction thing, and filled in all his chicken manure. And here is the heat exchanger in place, and he's harvesting quite a lot of heat out of the system. And on my way up to this congress today, I passed at his place and asked him, are you happy with it? And he said, yes, best ever happened. And I said, what are you doing next? Yes, I tell you, next I will build a compost pile of 500 cubic meters. And now I also know how to use my pebble. So I have 12 hectares of pebble wood, which is in place, and all the years over I thought about how to use it and make a little bit money out of it. And since I know this heating system, I use it myself, and I don't care of a market price for the pebble wood. And all my ingredients are staying on my farm, so I have my own wood, and I also have my own chicken manure, and I have my own heat. And with 500 cubic meters, I will have a second fan in place, and the heat exchange to my stable will be done. And I also plan to have a little orangerie, a little greenhouse complex next to my house, and there I will have another 300 cubic meters to have the greenhouse heated with the same system. So he's very happy, and I think you're welcome to have a look at his place, as well as 5 other places I know in Denmark since last year. There's Henrik Jørgensen, he heard about it, and the next weekend he put up one of these compost piles at his son's place. And thanks God to Henrik and the Danish people, we now know how to tear down the entire systems a little bit better, because Henry said, to recover the pipes, I put in silo nets. And the silo nets, which is a very strong material, that's all the bacteria going through and all the water going through. But if I, at the end, have all the compost layer sitting on top, I only take my truck and pull it back, and then very easy, I will have all my pipes recovered from the bottom. And that was a breakthrough idea from him. So I'm very thankful that he introduced that methodology to us, because if you build up a compost pile, you always have to think about how can I take it off after 12 to 16 months. Because the work related to it, to put it up, is very little compared to the work to take it down. So if you take it down, you really want to have your pipes back, because that's money sitting there, and you don't want to crash into it with your truck or any other technical device. And if you will look up in YouTube all the videos from our small little non-profit organization, you will see a lot of people related to the setup of the bioreactor. But you only see so many people involved because all these videos are done at workshops. So when we introduce a methodology to the people, we always try to put it into a workshop. And that is the reason you see 15 or 20 people around helping. But Hinrich put up with his son the compost pile of, I think, 90 cubic meters within 1 day. So if you have the machinery at your farm environment available, and you have one helper, which I think was Hinrich, I think his son was sitting on the truck, you only need a day. So it is not that much labor involved as you may think. And don't be worried if you look into the YouTube and you see many of these videos with a lot of people. That is quite easy to handle. Since time is getting or running fast, I just want to show you here, we had a workshop in the US and we put the straw barrels around to give it a form and to also have an insulation for the winter time. They have roughly minus 30 degrees in the winter, and this was in September when we did this workshop. This is here a little test. We have been on a little exhibition and someone came up and said, it's a great idea, but I have a wife at home and I don't know if she likes it. So I did a very small one first, it's only 1.5 cubic meters, and he was taking it for showers in the summertime. And his wife was that much convinced that he's already building the third compost pile this year to heat his house. And yeah, this is one of the biggest success stories. This is a little hotel. They have 11 rooms and all the showers every day. They have roughly 2,000 liters of hot water every day, which they use. This system was running for 19 months. We just put it down last month. So within this time, he saved about 7,000 euros on gas heating, and he is very happy with it. So to him, it's also the second thing. Here we also learned a lot when we took it down. You see all these places here which didn't got enough water when we put it up. So watering when you set it up is one of the very most important things. Don't underestimate. You need the habitat, you need the living room for the biochemical process of the microbes, and they need water. So they love some air, some water, and this is really necessary to have it done. And actually, as you can see here, it was 52 degrees when we put it down, so it was not really necessary to do so, but he already bought the next round of green cut for this year, and he wanted to make sure winter time is coming. I don't want to find out in the middle of January or February that the old pile, which was already 2 years in place, is running out. But I think he could have had the thing teared down maybe in the early spring. What we see here on the top, we also have the... I have to stop? Yeah. Okay. What we have here is we have the fungus on top, which is a composting helper, and what you see here is the lactic acid inside the composting process. So whatever we expected to be in there to give us a very best fertilizer and humus was in place. So the entire system is absolutely proven to get the very best out of it. And I guess I stop here because we are short on time. If you have any further questions, I think we have a little time to discuss. And otherwise, you give me directly a call or you look at our webpage and the YouTube. And within the YouTube, we have about 15 to 20 small videos available to give you an idea. And this is the net I was talking about, which is very important. And you see here the layer, we have the pipe. We put up some material and then we introduce the net which Hinrich was suggesting. And I only want to give you the short overview. Very little material, and that means also very small Danish crowns are involved to make this system available and keep it running. So the only thing you have to buy is this kind of pipes. You have to have a nice pump in place, which you know from the thermic solar systems. Maybe you use a heat exchanger or you're going into air forced heat exchange system, and that's all, which is a low tech and a low cost methodology to have heat and humus. Thank you very much.
Mange tak til Heiner. Og nu er der spørgsmål, og dem må I stille på dansk, eller på tysk eller engelsk. Og så skal vi prøve at svare og oversætte. Er der spørgsmål? Skal vi tage mikrofonen, eller hvordan det synes I?
Jeg tror, hvad med tab af kvælstof i det første, altså forlust fra stikstof, men når man belufter og komposterer, der er jo et enormt tab af kvælstof. Også den der beluftning af gylden, som altså under kompostering af gylden.
Also unter der Belüftung von Gülle und auch von den Wänden bei dem Kompost haben wir Stickstoffverlust.
Wir können diese Stickstoffverluste minimieren, wenn wir zum Beispiel Kohle mit in die Fütterung nehmen, so wie dieses 4K-Kleid und auch in der Kompostierung. Wir können sie minimieren, wenn wir Kohle hinzugeben in die Gülle, beziehungsweise am besten schon ins Futter. Ich hatte am Bild mir das natürlich gesehen, dass wir über 70% organisch gebundenen Stickstoff in der Gülle haben. Also deutlich Verlustminimierung damit.
Altså ved at putte kulstof med i gylden og i komposten, men allerhelst med, altså fodre med den blanding af ler og formalet kul, fint formalet kul, det binder, er med til at binde kvælstof.
Og hvor meget kul bruger man så?
Wie viel Kohle braucht man da?
200 Gramm pro Großvieheinheit und Tag. Oder ich nehme eine Tonne pro 300 Kubikmeter Gülle.
Altså enten 300 kilo per 300 kilo pro kubikmeter Gülle. 300 kilo pro 300
Tonnen pro 300 Kubikmeter Gülle.
1 tons per 300 kubikmeter Gülle. Og hvis man bruger det til køer, så er det cirka 200 gram per ko per dag, eller 200 gram per dyrenhed per dag. Ja, flere spørgsmål? Altså den der fur carbon clay, som er et hollandsk produkt, det er en blanding af kul og ler. Ja.
Hvad med kompostord? De røde kompostord. How about the red composting ones? Do they appear in your compost?
Die roten Kompostwürmer, was mit dem, sind die auch da?
Wenn man jetzt mit dem Kompostwendegerät durchfährt, wenn man mit dem Kompostwendegerät durchfährt, dann können sich die Kompostwürmer nicht ansiedeln. Sie siedeln sich immer im äußeren Bereich an. Wenn wir jetzt arbeiten, so wie Herr Witte oder mit Blocher haben wir deutlich weniger Umsetzvorgänge und dann siedeln sich auch die Kompostwürmer an. Also, aber in der Regel nur in den äußeren 15, 20 Zentimeter von einer Linie.
Altså når vi kører venner i den, så kan de ikke etablere sig, så forstyrrer vi dem jo. Men altså i den anden ikke-oxidative metode efter Witte, der kommer de, og så der det er især i den yderste lag, at det så kommer altså et stykke hen i komposteringsprocessen.
At the Biomeiler, we have in the outer meter or almost to 120 meters on a 10-liter bucket, 200 compost worms. So I was very astonished how many worms we have. So I put a 10-liter bucket and was grinding it, and I was counting all the worms I could see, and it was about 200 worms. So it's a very, very high number.
Oversæt det, Martin.
Og ja, så han tog en spand fuld fra bioreaktoren, tog en 10 liter spand og prøvede at tælle de regnorm, der var der, og så talte han 200 regnorm i bare i 10 liter. Ja.
Når det komposterer i gylde, hvor lang tid gør det så det? Altså, hvor lang en periode? Og så har jeg spørgsmål med, sigter han den kompost, når han har lavet det med varme inde i? Fordi det yderst kan ikke være så opsat. Det er bare lige på den varme.
Also 2 Fragen. Die eine ist für mich, Henning, bei der Güllekompostierung. Wie lange machst du das?
Also in der Regel dauert das 8 Wochen bis 10 Wochen so.
Also 10 Uhr das Belüften oder wie?
Nein, also ich setze die homöopathischen Stoffe ein, so wie Blocher, und die Belüftung habe ich eigentlich nur nochmal in den letzten Tagen eingesetzt. Ich kann jetzt nicht genau sagen, wie das mit dem Bio-Rico ist, den habe ich nicht ausprobiert.
Altså med den der tekniske homøopati efter Blocher, der tager det 8-10 uger, altså efter han tilsætter den til det er færdigt. Og den der belufte den, det er noget forholdsvis nyt, som man nu prøver yderligere.
Also ich habe auch Kompost, fertigen Kompost der Gülle zugesetzt, um auch die Gülle zu einem Komposttee zu machen. Und in dem Zeitraum habe ich eben auch belüftet mit technischen Belüftungsgeräten.
Altså i løbet af processen har spurgt og beluftet. Vi skal lige have det andet spørgsmål også. Heiner, der war die Frage zu dem, bei der Biomeiler, wenn du den jetzt auseinanderbaust, sind da Partien drin, die nicht so gut umgesetzt sind wie andere, und soll das gesiebt werden oder was macht man anschließend?
If you put down the compost pile, you always will find parts which are not totally composted because they are too dry. But the percentage in total is maybe 5 to 10%. And also depending how big or small the green cut is, you will have at least 70 to 80% plant available material, and the rest you need to, das ist 7. Yeah, you have to do that, yes.
Der var lidt spørgsmål mere her.
Von den Biomeiler?
Nein.
Henning, hast du Tuch?
Also ich nutze ein Vlies, aber eigentlich nur an den Tagen, wo es wirklich hohe Regenmengen zu erwarten sind.
Und die
Die Behörden, gibt es da irgendwelche Auflagen von behördlicher Seite?
Wir dürfen bis zu 3 Monate auf einem Platz liegen lassen, dann muss der Platz gewechselt werden. Das ist noch so, es sind neue Bestimmungen im Gang, wo wir noch nicht genau wissen, was da passiert.
Altså, ifølge tyske regler, der må man lade den ligge i op til 3 måneder på et sted, så burde man egentlig flytte den. Men de har ikke krav om overdækning, som vi har herinde. Så var det Frank.
Ja, jeg skulle på det. Er det en god idé at vende sådan en biomeiler løbende? Er det nødvendigt at tilsætte vand af?
Also bei den Biomeiler soll man den laufend bewässern oder soll man, also in der ersten Woche sagt man, aber kann es ein Vorteil sein, den unterwegs auch nochmal zu bewässern?
No, there is no advantage. The Biomeiler only needs watering the first 4 days, and then the rest of the year the rain will do its work, so it's not necessary to take care about it. The only thing what you can do over the time is to add some starch or some molasses or any kind of green cut you have maybe available. This will feed the process a little bit, but it's not really necessary to do anything else than the first week.
Bei den Biomeiler in der Mitte ist es ein aerober oder anaerober Prozess, der passieren wird.
So it is a mixture. On the top is an aerobic process for the first 15 centimeters on the top, and all the rest is an anaerobic digestion system. But since we have the temperature of 40 and more degrees, it is always in the environmentally and in the microbial friendly part, and it's not going into foulness where we have the botulism problem.
Altså det er en form, i og med at vi har den der høje temperatur, så er der en form for sanering i, for vi har den der høje temperatur, konstante temperatur. Bist du da eigentlich, Henning?
Im Prinzip ja, ich habe mich sehr schwer getan am Anfang mit dieser Art der Kompostierung, aber ich habe verstanden, dass hat der Ritter uns mal genau erklärt, dass die aeroben Mikroorganismen einen fakultativ anaeroben Stoffwechsel machen können, wenn sie etwas tiefer in der Erde sind. Und die Gase, die weiter unten entstehen, steigen nach oben und werden in verschiedenen Schichten wieder abgebaut. Und dann setzt sich das fort, einmal durch den ganzen Haufen von oben nach unten. Und wir haben tatsächlich auch getestet, oder Herr Witte hat getestet mit Professor Krüger und Botulinumkeime und Salmonellen und Kolikeime und sowas hineingelegt und hat keine, diese in den Testbeuteln, und die Hygienisierung hat vollkommen stattgefunden. Seitdem bin ich auch angetan von dieser Methode.
Altså han indrømmer, at han havde det svært ved at acceptere det, så han første gang lærte det at kende, men altså han virkelig har forklaret det for os, og det er jo især gruppen, den nedbrydende, det er især gruppen af det, man kalder fakultativt anaerob, altså de kan både under ildfrie og ildfattige forhold, og det er altså i det yderste lag, der vil selvfølgelig være bakterier, der bruger ilt, men de vandrer ligesom længere ind i stakken, og der længere nede kan der være nogen, som er anaerobe processer, og det er især også der, hvor der dannes gasser. Så det er i høj grad også en kompostering i gasfasen. Altså det, hvis man lukker stakken op på det tidspunkt, så lugter den, og så har vi skåret brændt ammoniakfordampning. Men i og med, at vi holder det værd med at vende i den og holder den der lavdeling, så er det de bakterier i det ydre lag, de gør brug af de her gasser også, så vi ingen tab har. Og det er netop også, og så temperaturen der, det sørger også for, at der er en hygienisering. Også en forudgående mælkesyregæring ser man også, at det mest let omsættelige sukker og stivelse og noget af det, de vil undergå en mælkesyregæring, som også er en meget hygieniserende proces.
Ja, kan man komme til at tage for meget varme ud af den bioreaktor, så man stopper komposteringsproces?
Kann man zu viel Wärme aus dem Biomeiler nehmen, dass der Prozess stehen bleibt?
Yes, that is possible. So you need an emergency switch off for the pump at 30 degrees, and then you need a recovery time until you have the temperature of 45 degrees again, and then the pump can start. To the end of the lifespan of the compost pile, you can go down to 25 degrees emergency off and 35 degrees switching on again. So it is very wise not to go under the temperature of 30 degrees, but otherwise the microbes will think it is winter time and they don't work anymore, and they need roughly 6 to 8 weeks to recover. And if you have that in the winter time, then it is no fun because you don't have the advantage to harvest the heat.
Man siger jo, at man skal have en meget høj temperatur for at dræbe det ukrudt, der er der.
Ja.
Når man ikke får den høje temperatur, det er hvad så?
Also Unkrautkeime zu vernichten, brauchen wir eine ziemlich hohe Temperatur. Was ist in der äußeren Schicht? Haben wir da auch die Unkrautsamen, die da kaputt gehen?
Obviously, there is a little dispute amongst the people composting, and the common knowledge is it is the heat which gives the process of disrupting the processes. But obviously, this is not true. It's a biochemical process, and within the compost pile and the methodology of Mr. Witte, the most resistant things, which is pumpkin seeds and tomato seeds, are all gone. So at the end of the entire composting process, heavy metals are covered, any kind of chemical plant protection and chemical substances are totally on zero, and all the Unkräuter seeds and pumpkin seeds and tomato seeds are gone. They are all gone.
Vil du vælge også?
Ja, altså det er meget modstridende meninger om, men altså han siger, det er måske, altså der er nogen, der mener, at det ikke er den høje temperatur, men tværtimod en kemisk proces, der gør, at spiring, ukrudtsfrøene, deres spiring den bliver ødelagt. Men altså det han siger, at ukrudtsfrø forsvinder og ligeledes tungmetaller bindes, og også hvis der må være sprøjtemiddelrester, så bliver de også tæmmeliggjort. Og altså man har testet det her ved, altså de mest svære at ødelægge, det er netop græskarfrø og tomatfrø, siger man. Og det er det, man har afprøvet det med at putte den i, og den bliver spiredygtig, den er altså ødelagt. Ja. Der er flere spørgsmål.
Kan man sige noget om, hvor mange kilowatt biomeiler er i forhold til størrelsen? Altså, hvor for eksempel 100 rummeter, hvor mange kilowatt er det?
Kann man etwas sagen zu dem Ertrag kW pro 100 Kubikmeter, oder kann man da irgendwas?
Yeah, you roughly can say that you have on any 10 cubic meter of green cut 1 kilowatt of energy. So if you go for 100 cubic meter of material, you have about 10 kilowatt of energy you're getting out of it.
And how big buildings? How much? 10 kilowatt. But it's not 10 kilowatt. Doesn't sound like.
So let's say if you have a building which is built in the early 90s, they are already on a very high standard, and if you have a 100 cubic meter compost pile, you will roughly able to heat 120 to 150 square meter of living space. And the very best heating system would be you have floor heating, wall heating, or if you have radiators which are carrying a lot of water. So it's easy to apply to the heating systems we normally have.
Ja.
Den der komposterede hylde, det er jo ret store mængder, som bruges på, at det er ler og gulv. Jeg tænker på, hvad er prisen egentlig per ton sådan en hylde, og hvor stor gødningsværdi har den?
Ja, also bei der Güllekompostieren werden ja dann doch relativ große Mengen, die da benötigt werden. Was sind die Kosten, was kostet das ungefähr? Kohle und Lehm.
Die Kohle wird im Augenblick gehandelt bei ca. 450 Euro pro Tonne.
450 Euro per Tonne, det er godt 3.000 kroner per Tonne.
Und also Steinmehl und solche Geschichten, das hängt davon ab, wie weit die Entfernung zu dem Steinbruch sind. Also das sind ja vor allem Transportkosten, die da anfallen.
Stenmehl ist ja Transportomkostungen. Auf deinem Betrieb, zu welchem Preis hast du es ungefähr? Steinmehl?
Ja, ich habe ungefähr für Eifelgau die meine 200 Euro die Tonne.
Das ist
circa fast nur Transportkosten aus der Eifel eigentlich.
Altså 200 euro per ton, så leverer de i Nordtyskland, og det er næsten udelukket transportomkostninger.
Det giver totalt 500 euro per ton.
Ja, som jo er nok til, altså wie viel pro Tonne, was werden das? Insgesamt 500 Euro. Also, oder pro Kubikmeter Gülle, was sind dann die Kosten, kann man das sagen? Per 300 kubikmeter Gülle vil omkostningerne være med 600 euro cirka. Altså 5.000 kroner. 4.000 kroner. 4.000. Ja. Herr Nietzsche, vielleicht noch mal eine Frage zu dem Komposttee. Kannst du uns da nochmal den Prozess genauer erklären und was man da eigentlich macht? Was das Ziel ist? Jeg spørger mit spørgsmål der omkring komposttee. Hvordan han laver den, og hvad formålet der er i det, eller hvad der er til.
Also ich mache den Komposttee so, dass ich eben diese 650 Liter Melassefass habe. Ich habe da einen Dauerläufer einen Gummimembran gesteuerten Kompressor.
Altså han har et 600 liters melassetank, og så har han en kompressor, som kan holde til at køre konstant.
Und über einen Aquariumstein in den einzelnen Röhren puste ich dann die Luft hinein, ungefähr 12 bis maximal 24 Stunden. Diese Luft hebt das Wasser hoch und dadurch entsteht diese Kreisbewegung und eigentlich eine Übersättigung mit Sauerstoff.
Altså hvis jeg husker den grønne tank, så er der 3 rør på udsiden, og der har han en akvarieluft, hvor igennem som akvariesten inde i de rør, så bobler der luft op igennem. Og det gør så, at der sker, at det bærer noget vand med sig, og så sker den der cirkulering, hvor det inde midt i beholderen løber ned igennem nogle rør, og der dannes den der viol- og vandbevægelse.
Ich habe neben dann Substanzen zum Füttern der Mikroorganismen, durch die Luft möchte ich die Ehrung der Mikroflora fördern und ich nehme da verschiedene Substanzen mit, zum Beispiel Algenkalk und auch Steinmehl und eben Kompost, und damit das nachher nicht verstopft in der Spritze, nutze ich Nylonstrümpfe und hänge das quasi in das Fass hinein.
Altså han tager jo noget af sin gode kompost, og så putter han noget og fodrer bakterierne. Altså det han gerne vil, han vil opformere og skabe gode forhold for bakterierne, så han ilter meget kraftig iltning, overiltning af det her vand, putter lidt noget melasse med i, også noget stenmel og algekalk, og så det her gode kompost. Og det lader han køre i 24 timer cirka.
Und als Futter nutze ich auch noch ein bisschen Melasse und habe dann noch ein kleines homöopathisches Geheimnis, was ich damit einsetze.
Og så fodrer han med en lille smule melasse og så en lille homøopatisk hemmelighed, som man putter med i, siger han.
Im Getreide muss ich sagen, ich habe in diesem Jahr ungefähr auf einem Niveau getroffen von Alles über 4 Tonnen und interessant war die Qualität beim Sommerweizen. Die haben wir ein Klebereiweiß gehabt von über 28%, was ich eigentlich in Deutschland fast noch nie erreicht habe.
Altså udbyttemæssigt, der ligger han generelt over 4 tons, hvad der var bemærkelsesværdigt i år, det var, at hans vorhvede lå med et glutenindhold på over 28%, og det har han aldrig haft før. Så, men altså, det er som sagt det første år, han prøver det. Så, ja.
Det var lige en tilføjelse. Du glemte lige at sige, at han puttede det der kompost i nylonstrøm ned i beholderen.
Når han så fylder, når han fylder det her kompost-ting over i sprøjten, så kører han igennem nylonstrøm for at undgå at dyserne de stopper. Er der flere spørgsmål her lige til allersidst? Tiden er så gået, men... Nej. Jamen, så vil jeg sige tak til Heiner og til Henning, og tak til alle jer tilhørere.